7 Los Angeles men were charged with firebombing African Americans living in a heavily Hispanic area in 2014. They were charged in a 10-count indictment, unsealed in federal court Thursday. They were also charged for their roles in a racketeering enterprise that used violence and intimidation. Justice reporter Paula Reid is in Washington to discuss it all. Paula, the Justice Department says this is one of the largest civil rights indictments in local history. What are prosecutors alleging?
That's right, Elaine. This is one of the biggest cases that they've brought in under the civil rights statute in quite some time, which is also part of why it took so long to actually get this indictment, approximately 2 years. Prosecutors allege a barbaric plan to attack and intimidate African-American residents of the Ramona Gardens housing complex in East Los Angeles. Now, this complex is about 95% Hispanic and about 3% African-American. First, this group started with threats, and then they moved on to firebombs. And Elaine, they say this was a very sophisticated plot. They purchased disguises, gloves, bomb-making materials, and then they divided themselves into 2 teams, and everybody had a very specific task. One person, his job was to break the windows. The next person would light the firebomb, and the final guy would throw the firebomb inside the residence. They were even savvy enough to leave their cell phones behind to avoid being able to be traced by law enforcement.
So disturbing. These men, Paula, I understand, were also charged with racketeering, and the indictment says that families, including children, were among the victims. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. Many of the residents that were targeted, children were home. Many of them were minors. In fact, Elaine, one woman, she was sitting with her baby on the couch in the living room right before the firebomb was thrown into her house. Now, other families who weren't specifically firebombed, they reported that mixed-race children were verbally threatened by members of this gang. So it's clear that children were certainly not spared from this intimidation.
Do we know, Paula, has this gang been on law enforcement's radar before?
Yes, the Hazard Street Gang has been on law enforcement's radar since about the 1940s. They are described as a multi-generational Latino street gang that originated in East Los Angeles, and they were particularly focused on driving African-American residents off their turf. And the Ramona Gardens apartment complex is one area where they considered their turf. Now, these 7 men face between a life sentence and 100 years in prison.
Disturbing case to hear about children being targeted as well. Paula Reid there in Washington for us. Paula, thank you.